Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm the founder of the Bobby White Foundation. Sorry, I'm laughing because we've had some funny things happen here, which happens quite often. So I want to welcome you again to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I want to certainly, I have to thank our producer, John Gasson with Area52TV.com. And he's actually our technical producer today also again, which comes with its own fun, which is good. It's a good thing. And I also want to thank our other sponsor, Delane Gaston with the mortgage firm. Anything mortgages, especially, I mean, not especially, because it's like from if you don't know anything to if you know something, if you're a first-time buyer and you're trying to figure things out, or if you want to refinance or anything, she can help you through the steps all the way from start to finish, and really help coach people through the home buying process so that when you're ready to go looking, you're all set and ready to go. So I want to thank her. She's always been a huge support of the show, of Art for Hope, of me, and we really super duper appreciate it. So today, I'm not by myself. I have a guest, and she's a special guest, and I know I say that a lot, but she is a special guest. I met her about 1.5 years after Bobby died. Our guest is Teresa Danials. And she's here actually on behalf of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and particularly, but not solely, for the Out of Darkness Walk. So, welcome, Teresa. If you have watched the show in the past, you may have seen her before because she has been a guest before.
Thank you.
This is your second year as co-chair?
Yes.
Second year as co-chair. Now, Teresa, how I met her, let me tell you how I met her. With AFSP, they have a program called Healing Conversations. And it was about 1.5 years after Bobby died. I went online and did contact. And unfortunately, they didn't have a peer per se with my particular type of loss, losing a spouse or a partner. But Teresa reached out to me, and Teresa lost her 18-year-old son, Tristen, April 14th of 2014. And Tristen was your only child.
Yes.
So Teresa, through AFSP, came up to my house and we chatted for, a couple hours. I mean, for the first time we met. We have similar losses, just different losses.
That's right.
And our friendship has grown ever since. I mean, it is amazing that through tragedy and loss, you can still find, like our show says, hope and comfort with people with similar experiences.
Yes.
Correct?
Absolutely.
Correct. So Teresa is on the board of the Tampa Bay Chapter of AFSP, which that's the short term for American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And let me see here. You have a growing list of things that you're doing with them since you got on the board. So again, she is in her second year as co-chair for the Pasco Out of the Darkness Walk. She also, let me get here, is a field ambassador, which entails planning, FSP. I put that wrong on my paper. No, AFS. I had dyslexia on this.
That's okay.
For State Capitol Day events.
Washington.
In Washington, and just a lot of different things. You've been a board member since 2016?
Yes.
So why don't you tell us about, since you got on the board, Or let's start this way. Tell us about Tristen first. And because that's the path that's led you to
That's right.
today.
So as Tammy said earlier, Tristen was my only child. He was 18 years old when he died by suicide. He went to J.W. Mitchell High School, middle school. So he loved music, loved band. He was a marching Mustang. He played jazz. He played a cello when he was younger. Then he picked up the trombone. So he was also in the jazz band at the school as well as the marching Mustangs. So he was very busy. He also played tennis. So very loving, very loyal, very smart, very smart alecky. We had this with this great sense of humor and rapport with one another. We were very close. And unfortunately, like I said, that wasn't something that we were thinking was going to happen. Were caught totally off guard with his loss, so as well as all of his friends and the school. So very, very traumatic.
But like with some of us, we take that pain and try and do good
That's right.
and help others. And so you had met Tara and Jason at an event.
I did. When Tristen passed away, he was actually the first person, I believe, to die by suicide at the high school, J.W. Mitchell High School. So,
And that high school is actually the high school that we had last year at Art for Hope
yes,
for the
orchestra.
orchestra.
Yes, they were marvelous. So
Well,
wonderful.
we'll get them next year.
Absolutely. But so they did an event at the behavioral center, and Tara and Jason, well, Jason actually spoke, and that's where I met them initially first. And they had no idea that Tristen was my son, so they just thought I was somebody coming to the event. But then they found out later that the event was to help everyone in the area at the school kind of be able to have a source for their grief and to be able to process their grief. So about a year and a half, 2 years later, I met them again at my first Out of the Darkness walk in 2015. And so that's when I asked them about becoming a board member, and they expressed that you had to be at least 2.5 years out
Right.
in your loss. And so I kind of, just participated as a volunteer, did some things, and then once the 2.5 years passed, then I was able to join the board.
Now, Tara was actually, for Central and South Florida, the area coordinator for AFSP, who was actually on our show a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And she's really wonderful. I met Jason. I don't think Tara was there. I met Jason at an event. I don't remember who put it on, but it was I think a couple of years after Bobby passed away. It was in the Trinity area. I think it's Growth and Recovery Center.
Yes.
They're on Trinity Boulevard.
They've moved, but that's where we had our event.
Yeah, yeah. So it was in that conference center there where our harps is now. That's where I first met Jason, was there. And he was actually, I think at that time, in charge of the board back then.
Yes.
So, but Tara we talk to Tara all the time. And so when you joined the board, what did you start doing and start developing? And you're only 2.5 years out, right?
Right, at that time, yes.
Yeah.
I was 2.5 years out. So I did a lot of the stuff with the walk. The walk appealed to me right away since I had gone to that first.
Right.
I kind of developed a love for that. And so I wanted to be a volunteer, on the walks. And so I would be on the subcommittees. We would, do the things to put together the walks. I've remained at the Pasco County since that's where Tristen passed away. We do have other walks, one in St. Pete and one in Tampa, but I stay up here just because that's where Tristen and I last lived together.
Mm-hmm.
So the Pasco walk holds a special place in my heart.
Right, right. So you also, I mean, you've been working on the walk, and we've talked a little bit about that. We'll go into that a little bit more, but being on the board, you're also involved in some of the, I don't know what you call it, like political stuff, the legislative
Yep.
part of that stuff, which because of our nonprofit standing, I can't do. It's not, something that we can do, but you guys can. So you've gone to Tallahassee.
Yes.
And
Washington.
So tell us about some of your what you've done when you go to Tallahassee and you go to Washington.
Well, we first started to just advocate for more funding for suicide prevention. We also went to Washington and things like that for our 988. They actually did pass the bill for the 988 number, so now we have that national number, and they said that it's just skyrocketed with,
I
people
think
calling instead of the long 7-digit number.
Well, it's so much easier to remember, and we talk about it often on the show. It's been out a little over a year, and when it was published, almost immediately, the first months prior to the increase in calls, have been reported about 40% increase in calls.
Oh, yes. They are amazing. And then when we went this year, we just went to Washington in July the 25th, I believe. And we were advocating for more funds because now that they've got the 988 number set up and people are calling, we want them to do what they call our mobile units. And so mobile units would come to someone who may be having, a suicidal ideation or an episode, and they would be able to take them to the proper place, deal with them properly instead of, police coming in and possibly escalating situations. So we went this year to ask for more funding for that. Also for the veterans, we want to be able to get our veterans. The veterans are about 20% of suicides. And so we wanted to set a program where they could have, say, customer service, for lack of a better word, but they would train people to be able to assist the people when they first come out of their service. And then they would be able to transition. So if they needed medical attention, or if they needed housing, or if they needed, just some kind of support or counseling, there would be this person there that would kind of guide you through all the steps of the VA, which are daunting for most people.
They are. Fortunately here, and I think it seems to be working fairly well. Information is still getting out there that we do have a contact with James Haley, Michelle, for our veterans, for just all of this that you were talking about. She's been on our shows, and she's really great. And so James Haley, our Veterans Hospital in Tampa, and all their satellite locations. We just built a great big new facility here on Little Road that opened up this summer. So they're really, really putting forth the effort to help our veterans with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's
in
a
our
huge
area.
need. Like I said, 20%, so, I mean, as we know, over 51%, people die by firearms, things like that. So you've got these trained people.
Oh, yeah, that's what they know.
That's what they know. So it's just, so we are under the belief that obviously suicide's preventable. And if you get somebody when they're first coming out and have to make those kind of transitions, that it would be a lot easier for them to deal with everything if it wasn't just they're out and now they're on their own,
you're on
having
your own.
nowhere to go.
Well,
or
yeah,
what
I
to
mean,
do.
their life is so totally different from what they're used to. Yeah, it's when Michelle was on, she did report some good news. It's not great, but it's good for our veterans, that the suicide rate for our veterans is beginning to drop from 22 a day down to 19.
That's excellent.
I mean, we got a long ways to go with all of it, but still, it's kind of like the first light of hope that we are starting to see a new trend in the right direction.
That is good.
Which is going to be so tremendous. And, with the efforts of hospitals like ours in the area really starting to put more focus. So much has changed in the 7 years since we met, or 6 years since we met, with resources for even just people like you and me and our veterans, right?
Absolutely.
What have you noticed, especially because you're working on the board with the Tampa Bay Chapter, so you see more of that on a bigger scope than what I see. I'm kind of like a little bit more focused here.
One of the things being, like you said, a healing conversation coordinator, one of the things that we actually have noticed is that people are reaching us a lot sooner. That was one of your things, like you said, it took you a year and a half.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't even know that we had a chapter until it was within the first year, because it was probably about 6 months later when I found out about the walk, but I couldn't walk because I was on crutches.
That's right. I remember. Yeah, I've definitely had a couple of people that I've gone on conversations with that were, weeks out or a month out. So the resources are actually a lot better. They're circulating a lot better. People are starting to see our name. You've probably seen them on a couple of TV ads. Some of the news shows are running it. They posted the 988 number, on the crisis line. So I definitely think much more communication is getting out there. And so we're trying to chip away that stigma. So that definitely helps it out a lot, and definitely when we can get those conversations to people, so that they can get the resources, because it's the same thing. We have like the little packets that we pass out when we have the conversations that tell people where they may go for, healthcare needs, or if they wanted to, like I said, go and participate in things, if they wanted to get involved, what they would have to do to make those steps. So it's just a good connection with good resources, and I definitely feel that that's been a lot better. Like I said, it took me about 8 months. I mean, when Tristen first passed away, I went to hospice.
And that's
because they were the only place I knew. And they were like, yeah, we do a program, but, you're sitting there and everybody's passed away with cancer. And they were like, why are you here?
Right. It is. I've talked about it recently with different people, and we've talked about it on the show too, that sometimes, you'll find grief support groups all around, but it's harder to find suicide specific. Yes. And it makes our grief is different than theirs. And unless you've been through it, it's kind of hard to understand that. And so sometimes a general support group, grief support group, doesn't do us a lot of good, because we don't know how to relate to them, and they don't know how to relate to our grief.
Exactly.
Right? Because you've gone through a couple of those.
I did.
Didn't you go with Compassionate?
I did.
What's that one?
And they were wonderful. The Compassionate Friends.
Yeah.
I was with them for about a year and a half, and they were more of, like you said, like group discussions. So you would go as a group, and everybody would get a chance to, speak. But it was the loss of a child in all manner of ways.
Right.
So not just suicide. So sometimes you would go and I would be the only person there with a suicide loss. Sometimes you'd go and there might be another person, but it was more like, just accidents and things like that. So
yeah, I think one of my sister-in-laws, they live in Pinellas County, and I think she went to them. She lost one of her adult sons, Terry. I think he had just turned 50 or something. So when she lost Terry, he had been living with her and my brother-in-law for 5 years, but it was his health. And she went to Compassionate. What is it? Compassionate?
The Compassionate Friends.
Yeah, the Compassionate Friends.
So a very good organization as well, just different things.
Right.
So one of the things that AFSP are actually trying to do now, they're trying to get together where they can train some of our board members to maybe do counseling. So you would kind of have to go and, set up your own after you got the training. But that's what we hear very often, especially with new people, that kind of come to us or from having the healing conversations. And they'll ask all the time, where are the suicide, groups?
Right.
And while there are a few, they're just so far apart.
They're so far in between. Yeah, we actually, one that I know of, and we mention them quite often on the show is, and it, of course it's in Pinellas County, is NAMI has a suicide-specific support group, and they meet the third Wednesday of each month from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. You have to go on to their website and sign up, register for it. But that's about the only one that I know of in our area. But, and this will be kind of a surprise to you.
Uh-oh.
So, and we'll see. In December, I'm going to go through the training with AFSP to start a support group.
Excellent.
It's
that doesn't surprise me.
it's a 2-day program. Because we don't have anything in Pasco, and that's one of the hardest things. Is I think Pinellas and Hillsborough have a little bit more resources than we have in Pasco. But then too, I'm also involved, especially with Rotary now, Hernando and Citrus. It's even less up there, and so even with my business and with the foundation, we started Pasco. We're involved in Pinellas. We're a partner with Zero Suicide Partners of Pinellas County. We're partnered with them, and then with some of this SAFE program and Alliance for Healthy Communities here in Pasco. I think Hillsborough is going to start as Zero Suicide Partners for Hillsborough County.
Okay.
So there's more, in this area now. But going north, which is part of Tampa Bay's area, Citrus and Hernando County, resources are even less. So hopefully when I go through that training, and I'm going to see if maybe my sister-in-law, because she's on our board, and I have one other person, get at least one other person that is representative of the foundation to go through the training also. The person I have in mind she was a guest on the show. She has a mental health background. She actually worked for the suicide hotline in Tampa for many years. So I'm going to talk to her about that tonight. She doesn't
That's very
know.
good.
She doesn't
You'll have to
know,
let me know how you do it.
You know.
I'm actually not going to go through the training. It's a little too triggering. So you have to know your strengths, and it's just not something that I can do.
Yeah.
I am definitely Tristen's voice now. I definitely feel like I am his voice, and I definitely prefer advocacy and the one-on-one, the healing conversations, or even co-chairing the walks. But so you want to definitely keep yourself abreast of your own mental health.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
That's one of the challenges with the people is that when you have new people, like they want to go every week.
Right.
Like you just.
Yeah, it's too much. Well, and I have that sometimes with this show,
Do you?
and with the show and with running the foundation and Art for Hope, and especially coming up on this time of year because we have Art for Hope in September, National Suicide Prevention Month. Then in November, we have our walks, Lost Survivors Day, Bobby's birthday, the holidays.
The holidays.
And I was a lot better last year, but like 3 years ago, I wasn't.
Right.
And I wasn't even doing the show at the time. And that was.
Yeah, it definitely goes. Like I said, it ebbs and flows. And one year you're thinking you're making some progress, and the next year you're 3 or 4 steps back. I mean, it's
and
so
even
hard.
with going through the training, it may not be per se that I run it. It's just I know what we have to do, and somebody else can facilitate it. We just oversee and do that. We'll just have to see how it
keep me
goes.
abreast.
Because there's a couple other trainings that I'm going to do, and one of them's next week.
Okay.
I think
Is that the assist?
It is Talk Saves Lives.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good training.
Yeah, Talk Saves Lives is the first one on the list. So that's October 4th.
Okay.
And you can go on to the AFSP Tampa Bay Chapter for upcoming programs, and you can find these and you can register for them. They're free. Anybody can do them. But the thing is I'm going to be on a cruise that day.
You're going to do it via Zoom or something?
Well, they're all these ones are all via Zoom. The only one that's in person is for the support group.
Okay.
But these ones are via Zoom, and yeah. So I'm gonna try and do it on the ship. So. See,
Good luck.
It's a working cruise, because I'm going to be doing foundation stuff, and then I got other business stuff that I got to do. So, and we're going to try and tape the show.
Wow.
From the ship.
That doesn't sound very
remotely.
relaxing, Tammy.
Oh yeah.
Where are you going on this cruise?
To sit on the balcony and watch the ocean
And work.
go by. Well, yeah, and work, but yeah. So the Talk Saves Lives is October 4th. Then that's October. I think that's the only other one in October. And October 8th is Out of the Darkness Walk for Pinellas County.
That's right.
And I wish I was ahead of the game, and I'm not. Because by the time I get back, I'm not going to be able to get anybody on the show for that. But hopefully my idea next year is to get somebody from...
And you can always do Tampa.
From
Tampa's
the
in
three
December.
walks. Yeah, I can still get a hold of them in Tampa. And they usually reach out to me.
That's right.
Their walk is December 3rd, but that's the anniversary of Michael's death.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but like Tammy was saying, they actually are all online, but the Tampa walk is at the Al Lopez Park.
Yeah.
You know, Pasco County is at Sims Park in November the 4th. And then the St. Pete walk is at Stobbs.
Stop. Okay, I
Down
can't
there by
remember.
the Vinoy.
Yeah. That's
Very
what
beautiful.
the
Very
Vinoy is
beautiful.
what kept, like, what's the one down there by the Vinoy?
Yes.
Yeah, all the places where we walk are real nice. We just did. We had a table and all this information that Teresa has talked about that AFSP provides. The foundation has that.
That's right.
We have all that information, and when we do table events, we have all that information to give out. We did one Saturday for it was the recovery walk.
Okay.
And it was at Sims Park. And so we gave out, actually we handed out some of our updated purple folders. That's, yeah, that
That's the
QR,
Pasco.
that's the Pasco walk. And that's at Sims Park, which is a beautiful park.
Beautiful park.
We had,
They've done so much improvements.
oh yeah, it's great. We were there Saturday morning, and it was like the first morning that it was like a little bit cool and the humidity was down. It was a beautiful, beautiful morning for it. And they had a really good turnout. That was their third year for the walk. We've been there for two of them. Last year it was really rainy, and so we didn't go. But I heard that they still had a really great turnout and raised a bunch of money. But we were there. We were there this year.
Yeah, our goal this year at Pasco is 40,000, and right now we're at about 73. We're a couple dollars shy of 73. So we've got some good participants, about 22 teams. You know, so like I said, you can go on the site, you know, and donate. You can register.
You can register as an individual. You can register a team.
That's right.
You can just donate.
That's right.
You can just come down. And guess who's going to be the MC this year?
That's going to be you.
Me.
I can't wait. She's going to be ordering us around, just telling us what to do.
I don't think so. I know that we've got to get together to start getting this thing organized, though, so I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I was a speaker last year, and that was daunting enough.
She did a fabulous job.
But I was really glad, you know, I was honored to be able to do that and to be the MC this year. It's the same thing because, you know, for both of us, and actually for all of us that are involved, it's really important to us.
It is.
You know,
you get to meet lots of people. When they have the beads, you have the different color beads that represent your type of loss. And so even people that may not feel comfortable saying something to you or walking up to you, they can still see people that are like them just in the color of their beads.
Right.
You know.
And, you know, we do that at Art for Hope, too. We have the beads available for people. But yeah, because Teresa says sometimes people don't feel comfortable talking, you know, they're just not really quite there yet. but you can still, even if you don't, and you see people wearing similar beads to yours, you know you're not alone.
That's right.
Without having to even say
That's
anything.
right. And one of the things we're going to do this year that we didn't do last year is we're going to actually have everybody hold them up. So as we're saying
Oh, really?
what the colors are, so if you have white or if you have
Yeah.
blue and what they symbolize, then we'll have the audience hold the beads up and same kind of thing. Then everybody can just kind of do a pan around, and then you can automatically see how many people are there with your loss.
Right.
You know, so it's a good way and a casual way to make acquaintance with people in a very comfortable environment.
Right. You know, last year, what happened with us was one of my volunteers, or what? No, it wasn't either. It was you, I think.
Shocking.
It was you. Wasn't you that met the woman who had never spoken?
That's right. That's right.
It was you.
And I did introduce you to her.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Over
she,
13 years.
Yeah.
13 years.
She lost her husband. She never told a soul.
Well, she actually told them a story. She didn't tell them that he died by suicide.
Right.
She told them he died some other way because she was afraid of the stigma.
Right. And it has really, and unfortunately, she hasn't kept in touch.
Yeah.
And the stress has really taken a toll on her health and her
Yes.
life.
Yes.
You know,
Keeping that squashed in and just.
yeah. I mean, she was glad she was there, and she was, you know, happy to speak to us. Very, very happy. I thought she, you know, would keep in contact.
too.
I was hoping that she would, but you know, the stress of holding all that in has really taken a toll on her health, and that's what stress does to you. And I just, you know, even our own family, my own family did the same thing for a few years. A couple of the people in our family, and one of them still does. And it's just you can't. That's why I have to do what I have to do, because I just can't. I can't carry that.
That's right.
You know, when my first husband died, it was so much different than what this was. Both are extremely painful. Both were very tragic, but this one was so much different. And knowing that I could help somebody by talking about it, because we weren't helped because somebody in our family didn't talk about it. And who knows? You know, who knows?
That's why we do what we do.
That's why we
You know,
do.
and we don't want, you know, anyone to go through what we're going through. And so you want to talk and get that out as much as you can so that no one has to suffer like we have.
Well, again, it goes back to really, and it is just so true. And this is why I'm glad that they use this. And I use it all the time too. You know, talk saves lives.
That's right.
Because keeping silent kills. And I literally know that. And you just don't want to do that, and you don't want to be afraid of it. People have to learn. You have to learn. I have a new program that's going to be coming up that we're getting involved with, and we're partnering with several organizations, and I still can't talk about it. I know I mentioned it last week, and I haven't even told you about it yet. I have a phone meeting with one of the guys on Thursday to get more information. So I don't know if I'll be rolling it out a little bit maybe next week when I'm on the cruise or not. We'll have to see. But I'm really excited for this connection. The campaign, I guess, is what you would call it, sort of. Primarily focuses on, you know, September for, you know, September 10th is National Suicide Prevention Day. The week of the 10th is National Suicide Prevention Week, and then the whole month is September.
Right.
But for us, it's every day, it's every week, it's every month. And so this campaign we can use throughout the year, I think is going to be like we walk a fine line between trying to make something fun or happy to get a really difficult, sad point across.
That's right.
And that's probably the most difficult thing about it, besides trying to be happy and live a happy life for the ones that we lost. It's hard. And you guys see it on our show. If you've seen our show from the very beginning, almost 3 years ago, you've kind of watched almost a 3-year progression of me and my former co-host going through the process, along with bringing information to you. And sometimes it's really hard.
It is.
And
depends on what the day it is or what month it can fall on.
And if it's really, and we project that it's really hard. My poor tech guys have a hard time, But as we're progressing, we want to bring more of that light. Hence the name of our show.
That's right.
So, doing things like this, new things that are coming up, the walk, and that's the one thing about the walk, and even Art for Hope, they're uplifting events.
They are.
Even though everybody's there for a really difficult situation, they are not sad events. They're not. No. They're really uplifting, don't you think?
I do. I love the walks. I usually go to all 3 every year.
Right.
I love them.
I wanted to go to all 3 this year, but the one in Pinellas is too close to me coming back from my cruise, so I'm going to miss that one. And I don't know. I'm going to try to do Tampa. They've invited me down several times, but usually it falls right around that other anniversary. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of depends on how I feel during that time. Because even though it's been 35, 37 years, it still triggers sometimes.
Absolutely. And those are ones that you can avoid. So I know one of the ones that I always liked to try to do, I did the campus walk at USF,
Oh, yeah.
And as the years went on, they changed the date, and they changed it to like April the 14th or April the 15th, which is right around Tristen's day. Right. And to be at college with all these wonderful young kids, I was like,
yeah, you have to. And that's one of the things that.
But I miss it.
Oh yeah, well,
because the kids are just so encouraging, and they're just, they're so young.
But we have to, and this is, something that we talk about a lot is having to take care of ourselves.
That's right.
Because if we don't take care of ourselves, then we can't help other people.
That's right.
And that's very difficult sometimes. But that's what we do.
That's right.
Right? That's what we do. So the Out of the Darkness Walk for Pasco is November 3rd. Now,
November the 4th.
November the 4th, right. Are we going to... I like the way they're doing it this year, because we have October for Pinellas,
yes,
November for Pasco, and December for Tampa. Yes. And Tampa's always been in December for as long as I know.
Yeah, we were originally in October, but of course with the hurricanes, so then they
decided to push it. Our walks between Pasco and Pinellas were so close together often. They were like a week apart. Mm-hmm. I hope they keep it this way.
Yeah, we said that too. We let them know that we liked it one in each month.
Right.
To kind of give people a chance to prepare, because lots of people like to go, they could even live closer to one and the other, but depending on where their loss is at, they may go to someplace different. So when you have them a little bit more farther apart, then you get a better chance of people showing up for more than one.
Oh yeah, more people to participate, because it's
one of the biggest things, like I said, with the walks is, once you've gone to one, you realize that that's where you find the bulk people that are like you. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing like it. When you're going through your regular life, all day at my job, there's no one there that has that loss. When you go to your friends or your family, and they have all their kids, there's not that loss. So the one true place that you can go and find people like you are at the walks.
Or at the walks. Well, and also, because in November, did I write it down here? I did. I think November 18th is Lost Survivors Day.
And that's another one.
Yeah. And
that's international. They do it every week.
Yeah, you can go to AFSP and you can
.org.
find well, it'll pull it up without the dot.
True.
But and you can find a chapter in your state closest to your community to see what's going on and where they're having these events now. The last several years, except for last year they had Lost Survivors Day. I think it was in Seminole.
Yes, we had to pull them together after COVID.
Yeah.
You know, people kind of dispersed, and so we just decided to do one big one.
Right.
And so we had everybody come to Seminole.
Yeah.
So, and well,
Oh, I know, you know how I.
yes,
So this year, it is a little bit closer to us. It is in Pasco, but it's still really close to Hillsboro. I tried to get it to be at the hotel, but I'm on the planning committee for that.
that would have been nice.
Well,
It's a nice hotel.
and I think that I can't remember the name of the place. When we get closer to it, we're going to have, I think, October 14th, we're having a planning committee for Survivors Day. So after that, I'll have more information. She told me where it's going to be held at, but I don't remember in my head because sometimes when I'm not happy about something, it doesn't stick, you know. I'll play along and play nice, and but it is I think it is a counseling facility.
Okay.
But so they could have group breakouts and they have
Yes.
counselors there.
Yes.
But if we had it at the hotel, we have other rooms too. And we have counselors that are available. So I'm kind of hoping next year we can pull it
Yeah,
back.
you might want to bring that up because it's always a struggle for us to find places because, of course, they need to be, free of charge.
Right. And
so-
see, I could have got, the hotel would have done it for me. We were like this close to doing it. And then one of the organizations that they reached out to like months ago came back that morning and said, oh, well, we decided we'll do it. And I was on my way to the hotel to talk to them. And the person that's kind of in charge of it, I tried to argue my position, not argue, but talk my position, and it wasn't going anywhere. So I said, let's just have it there this year. But I really felt that having it at this other location would have been a lot more neutral because it is pretty much an adult event for the most part, and the name of this facility is Children's something. And she said, well, we're just giving out the address. And I'm like, yeah, but when they look it up to see where they got to go, I just think in a lot of people's heads, adults, I think it might be a little bit of a barrier. I could be totally, totally wrong, but at least we do have something going on that day in Pasco. To the hotel would have been easier for everybody from Pinellas, Hillsboro, Pasco, Hernando to come to. So
Yeah, it's a great location.
yeah. So hopefully we'll see. Maybe next year we can have it there.
We'll have to start early.
Yeah. 'Cause I'll have all my other training done by then too. So that's a really, I'm glad that we're having it in person again because we did do it and during COVID.
Yes.
Statewide was
we were all
during.
Zooms.
Yeah, we were all Zooms during COVID, but at least at least
were
we
there.
still at least we still had it.
Still good.
I think each state kind of did their own statewide
Yes.
thing during that. So last year was the first one they had back in person, and so I'm really glad that this year again. And last year's down in Seminole, it was a late afternoon one. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah, and like about 3, which is typical,
Well, the ones that we had here before COVID, remember when we had them at the hospital?
Yes.
They were like,
They're like
at
at
noon.
Yeah.
And that was a good time because driving back at that time of year from Pinellas, you're driving back in the dark. And I was like, I don't want to drive back from Pinellas in the dark. I mean, it's not that bad, but it is. It is.
You're so funny.
Well, come on. So there is a lot going on. So, but pretty much right now, that's what we're preparing for.
That's right.
pretty much what you're preparing for is the walk.
The walk. And like you said,
And-
we're working on the International Survivor Day as well. But
Right.
I'm not on the committees or anything for that. So,
Well,
I'll probably be there the
keep
day.
I'll keep you abreast of that.
Probably be the day of or something to
Right.
be able to help out.
Yeah, I'm glad that that we're doing that again. So we've had in the past, and I mentioned it last week, I came across this book, and I think it's something that you might like too. I haven't got it yet. I should have it hopefully before the next show. Maybe I'll be reading it on the cruise. It is Reflections for the Grieving Soul, Meditations and Scriptures for Finding Hope After Loss. And there's a lot. They lowered the price again.
Nice.
Holy crapola. Okay, you guys, you have to go on here and get this book because I paid $11.99 or something for the books. We have 4 of them coming for the foundation. Now it's even less.
I think it's $8.99 or something.
8 something now. And it's like half the price that it is on Amazon. Because I checked Amazon and it's a $16.99 price. John, can you scroll down? Let me see if they still have the bonuses on there. No, there we go. Oh, yep. See, that is an awesome deal. So you get those free bonuses with this book, but if you get the book from the foundation, and we'll give the book out, I got permission to share the bonuses.
Okay.
There's and we do have a video. I think we have time to show the video? It's only a few minutes long. Did the link work this time? Is it good?
My name is Mike Napa, and I wrote the book Reflections for the Grieving Soul. I wrote this book during the first year after my wife, Amy, passed away from cancer. What I found was that when Amy died, there was just this great outpouring of people with love and support and this all around me for the 2 weeks between her death and then the funeral. And the funeral was beautiful and it was well attended. And but then after the funeral, all of those people seemed to kind of melt away. And I'm not saying I was abandoned or lost or whatever, but there was no more of that great support. And after the funeral, I found that I had to deal with Amy's death by myself instead of with a great crowd of people supporting me. So what I was struggling through this time, and I was looking for scripture, and I was going to the Bible to find things to encourage myself. And finally, I felt desperate enough that I went onto Facebook and I said to my friends, look, I'm drowning here. Would you send me whatever scripture it is that you use when you need help from God, when you need encouragement from God? And man, they did. They sent me a ton of their favorite scriptures. And then I also found some encouraging Bible verses from my wife's journals that she had left behind for me. And of course, I had some of my own. And so I took them all and I printed them out and I cut them up on little slips of paper and taped them onto 3x5 cards. And I put them in a stack. There were over 100 of them. And I put them in a stack next to my bed. And I decided I was going to read one of those scriptures every day for the first 100 days. And that I was going to just do that and see if that helped. And so I would get up in the morning and I would read that top card and I would carry it with me during the day, and I would read that scripture several times during the day. I'd read it when I was at lunch or when I was just weeping for no reason, or I would read it when I was getting ready to go to bed. And I did this for 100 days, and then without even noticing it, I kept doing it. And a good year went by, and then I realized I had so far surpassed the 100 days that I thought I was going to use these scriptures. I still have those scriptures. At this point, it's been nearly 7 years since Amy died, and I still have that stack of worn out 3x5 cards next to my bed, and I still pick them up and will read these scriptures. And so I took the top 100 of those scriptures and I put them into this book for you so that you could maybe find some strength and hope in the way that I did. During that first year after Amy died, when I felt kind of adrift. I don't typically journal, but I was reading these scriptures and they kept raising questions in me, and I kept wanting to talk to God about them. And so I started writing down some of my thoughts and prayers to God about these scriptures. For instance, one of the scriptures from the Sermon on the Mount where Jesus says, blessed are those who mourn. And I know a little bit about scripture study, and I knew that the word blessed actually means almost quite literally how happy. And I was looking at that and thinking, well, how can he say, how happy are those who are sad? What is that about? And so I wrote these up into prayers. And then at the end of that year, I went back through them and I took 40 of those journal entries, and those became the reflections that are now in the book, Reflections for the Grieving Soul. Those are interspersed in between those 100 scriptures.
So there you go. Now, be sure you go on the website. I'll put the link it's in the show notes, but I'll put the link in the comments also for that, and you'll be able to find it on our Facebook page and the foundation website. Duh. So yeah, because I paid more. So now I'm like,
Get it now while it's on the sale.
yeah, get it now. So when we get the book and I get back from the cruise, or like I said, if I get it before, maybe we'll just start talking about it. I'm going to put, and I didn't have time to do it today, they have like 3 coloring pages
Okay.
with the bonuses, and it has a scripture, and it's real super short scripture and things that you can color. They're really kind of cute. I mean, even me being an artist, I like even just coloring pages, you know.
That suits you.
You know.
For sure.
I have this one. Oh, I got to tell you what it is, but not on the air. So anyways, so yeah, that's one of the next things that that we're going to be bringing more information about that book and the resources. There's more videos. So as we do every week, we'll show another video. That was the intro about the book. I think there's 4 or 5 videos that go with it. And also, we'll get back to, there's, and maybe you might know, the videos on the AFSP website. Do you know what they were?
What do you mean?
They
The
have
journeys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that?
There's several. But if you
Yeah.
go on the website and you look for the videos.
Yeah. Well, we shared one of them. Yeah, we shared one of them a few
good.
weeks ago. So we're gonna share those. Maybe share one of those also as we go through that, just to make it easier for
Yeah, I
people
recommend
for
those.
you to
They're very,
access.
very good.
Yeah. So I want to mention too, we're all through September. So there's, along with our stuff going on in October, there's a Night of Remembrance. Halos is putting that on. That is, I guess that's Sunday, the 1st. Then there's a Mental Health Awareness and Youth Empowerment Summit at St. Petersburg College. That happens to be the same day as the walk on the 10th. It's at the Gibbs campus. And again, the Pinellas Walk is the 10-8, and that's at, they say it's, you said Straw Park. They say it's at the Vinoy Park.
Well,
It's the same. It's the
yeah.
same thing. And then NAMI is also having a walk at the St. Pete College Clearwater campus on the 8th.
Okay.
So you can get a walk in anywhere on
yeah.
that day.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
those are our October events. I can't believe we're already into October.
Right.
October. So, and we do have our new purple folders. I do have to make a correction because the Trinity Behavioral Health Center, I guess, no longer exists. And they were one of our resources in here, so I have to go through all these, and I got to fix that. But they are available through the foundation, through our community partners. Teresa will have some.
That's right. Because you'll have them on your table. You're going to have your
Yeah, we always have them on our table events. Because even though I'm going to be the MC, we're still going to have a table there. So we'll have our information at Sims Park also. And when we give them out, we give you these little forget-me-not seeds.
I love those.
I do too. I thought that was something that we had to have. So always remember to put, and I'm going to add, I found an international line that I didn't get a chance to add to this. So please remember to have these numbers available. Memorize the 988 number. And I believe with the 988 number, if you press 1 on that, it also takes you to straight to the Veterans Helpline. There's a couple others that I found just recently, like I said, an international number that we'll be adding to these. It's just, you just never know when you're going to need them.
And the text line is good too. The 741.
Yeah, the 741.
For some of the younger people that are much more tech savvy.
Right. So our quote for today is, what if the unknown has everything you ever wanted?
It's pretty deep.
I know. But, just think about it. I mean, for us going through this unknown new journey every day, it could be, a positive. We just got to figure it out. And that's why at the end of our show, we always say, there is always hope.
Always hope.
Thank you.
Always.